In the 22nd century, the human race finally had to pay the bill for our neglect of the environment. Thousands died, and those that lived were forced to adapt. The human race chose two different paths in order to survive, and the definition of what it meant to be human was put to the test.
Fracture is set in the year 2161, and here at Day One Studios a couple of years ago, we started developing a world set in the future that is beset by calamity of global warming and confrontation between genetics and cybernetics. We set events along that timeline that would eventually break the United States apart, including global warming, which creates flooding, which creates separation of what was once how we look at the iconic map of the United States does not even resemble it anymore. The Midwest is almost completely gone, and whole chunks of the East Coast are gone due to the levels of the ocean rising.
We start out, and Sheridan, who is the character that's leading the Western Army, if you will. He is seceded from the Union, and we're going down there and say, hey, stand down, drop your arms, go. He says, bite me, and he's got this first strike weapon called the Dreadnought, which is this enormous walking aircraft carrier, if you want to think of it that way. The player gets introduced to that relatively early in the game, and it's making its march across the United States.
And you realize you have to ride this thing. That's when you realize it gets kicked up a notch.
We want to, reinforce that there's been a climatic change. So, for instance, in San Francisco, you are starting near an Alcatraz. However, there's no water, and there's been a plate shift that has blocked off the Pacific Ocean, and the bay is pretty much dried up. You see a recognizable cityscape. You recognize some architecture from Alcatraz. You'll certainly recognize the Golden Gate Bridge. You have to get the fun of dropping that in the game and bringing that down. The Southwest, we picked up on a little bit different architecture, certainly changed the mood.
In the Southwest, the enemy really starts using the terrain in ways that you even can't to come at you. In the Southwest, it starts to get a little more genetic in terms of their attack on you.
And we're doing some surprising things with the characters where you're not always fighting human-esque type of characters. That's where a lot of the DNA research went on for the Pacificans. So you're seeing some, DNA gone mad, kind of stuff that's fun to deal with. When DC, we changed the gameplay a little bit. We're bringing the environment in a little bit closer. As you said, there's more architecture. There's 150 years from now, there's a shield over DC that the Pacificans have actually broken down, and we've got to get back online. And to do that, we have to go underground, and we're doing some kind of different puzzle things with the terrain deformation to allow you to put the shield back online. And then ultimately, we have to destroy the Dreadnought.